Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Here in a few weeks, me and my dad are going to be riding the Washington Parks Loop, which goes through North Cascades National Park, Olympic National Park, and Mount Rainier National Park, and I'm super excited. I've had a lot of people comment on my videos asking what kind of gear that I take, and now that I'm packing it all up, I figured it would be the perfect time to show you guys what we take on a bike tour. So first things first is the bike, the most important part. This is my Surly long haul trucker. I purchased it new in 2017 and it's been on 4 or 5 major bike tours. It's been coast to coast from Virginia to Oregon on the Trans Am, and it's also been across Missouri on the Katy Trail. It's been from Washington DC to Pittsburgh on the Gap in CNO, and it's been from Canada to Mexico on the Pacific Coast bike route, not to mention all these other smaller rides that I've done. It's got about 8,000 miles on it right now, and I plan to put a lot more on it. So for my saddle, I use a Terry Butterfly Century. I've tried out the Brooks saddles, and I love the way that the Brooks saddles look, but I haven't found one that works for me. I haven't given up on that journey yet, but for now, I really love this saddle. I've got a Garmin Edge 520. It's pretty basic, but it connects to my Strava and it, helps me track my rides. On here you'll see a mount, and that's my Ortlieb handlebar mount. And as you can see, it's got a lock on there, so you can actually lock your handlebar bag to your mount. And I have a old school mirror on my handlebars, and I don't ride without it, and I feel blind if I don't have it. So, I use it to keep track, if somebody's behind me, but also to keep track of the vehicles that are coming up behind me. So next up, let's talk about the racks. In the front, I've got a Tubus Terra rack, and then in the back, I've got the Tubus Cargo Evo rack. I actually got both of those off of eBay for a pretty decent price. I think that they were about $150 together, and I've never had an issue with them. There's a couple of spots where, they've been worn down a little bit, but I plan to keep these for a while. They're really strong racks. They get the job done, and you can trust that they're not going to break or anything like that. For my handlebars, I took the stock bars off. They were a little too narrow for my liking, and I put these Salsa Cowchippers on, and I really like them. They're a little bit wider. They've got a little bit of a flare to them. They just help you feel a little bit more stable. I wrap them with the Brooks Microfiber tape. I wasn't sure about the leather since we were going to be out in the rain and stuff on bike tours, so the microfiber does hold up pretty good, and it still gives you that nice leather look. So for my pedals, I've got the Shimano GR500 pedals. They are flat pedals, and they've got the pegs in there that kind of gives you some traction. I actually just put these on, and I'm hoping that I like them for this tour, so I'll have to get back to you on that. But I did have the Shimano dual-sided, I can't remember what they're called, but they're the dual-sided pedals. On one side is the SBD cleat and the other side is flat. I just got to where I never ride with SBD shoes anymore. I just prefer the flats, and it got a little annoying because you have to make sure that the pedal's on the right side when you're pedaling. So I just opted to get a flat pedal. We'll see how it goes. So for my light, I've got the Bontrager On Pro. And I believe this one is 1300 lumens, and it's actually a front light, but it's very bright, and that's just what I use on the back. Since it's not really meant for the back, we got a piece of PVC piping and kind of fixed it to the rear rack. And I've actually had police officers stop me on the road who were cyclists who asked me what light this was because they could see it so far away during the daytime. It is the white LED type light, so it's not red. I do have a flare light that came with this light that I'll put on the rear as well, especially if the traffic's really bad, or if it's foggy, or if it's dark or stuff like that. So for my helmets, I've always used Burn helmets on my bike tours. I think they're a relatively new company, could be wrong about that, but I started off using this helmet. They actually don't make this one anymore, but it's called the Burn Melrose helmet. I'll be honest with you, I just like the color of it, but I do absolutely love the visor. Obviously it keeps the sun out of your face, but it helps you in a downpour. If it's raining, it keeps the rain out of your eyes and stuff like that. Recently, Burn actually sent me a new helmet, and I think this is called the Pave helmet. And the only thing really different, this one's a little bit lighter. Obviously it's a different color, but the Pave comes with the MIP system in it, so it's a little bit safer. I'll be honest, this is my absolute favorite helmet, and I'm not sure which one I'm gonna take. So for the rest of my gear, that all goes in my Ortlieb panniers and my Ortlieb handlebar bag. So before we load it up, let's break each bag down and I'll show you what else I take. So as you can see, I've got all my gear laid out on the table. This is everything that I take with me on a bike tour. But before we talk about the gear, let's talk about what the gear goes in. So I use the Ortlieb front rollers and back rollers. These are actually the free style panniers. They're free of PVC, which is more environmentally friendly. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not choose them because of that. I chose them because I like the color. I have not had any issues out of these. They've been, 8,000 miles with me, and I haven't had a single issue. The only thing I've ran into is they're starting to get a little bit discolored. There's kind of a yellowish tint to them. You probably wouldn't notice it unless you just, remember what they look like to start with. But I really love these, and whenever these wear out, if they ever do wear out, I'm probably gonna get the same ones. They're completely waterproof, and they, a lot of panniers say that they're waterproof, but they're made out of a canvas material. Well, that canvas still gets a little wet, and I just don't like that. The rain just kind of glides right off of these, and they stay dry. So I love these. I highly recommend these, and I haven't had any problems out of them. So I put my bulkiest items in the rear panniers. Not necessarily so I have more weight back there. I actually try to distribute my weight throughout the bike, but the bulkier items just fit better in the back rollers, which are slightly bigger. So in one of my back panniers, I put all of the things that it's okay if it gets wet. So my tent, my rain jacket, and all that stuff, it goes all in one bag. Because like I said, if it gets wet, it's not that big of a deal. So for my tent, I use a Marmot Tungsten 1P Ultralight. It's a one-person tent, and it's been great. The only problem I've had out of the Marmot Tungsten 1P is the tent poles are so lightweight that one time I got in a thunderstorm and I did not guy out the lines. I didn't have time, and the wind was so crazy it actually snapped a couple of my tent poles. That was a wild ride in a tent, and that's the joys of bike touring. But, I actually came across a camping store, and a guy replaced the poles for me, no big deal, and I've never had an issue since. The rain gear that I put in the back bag, like I said, it's okay if it gets wet. I've got a Showers Pass rain jacket. I chose the neon color, just because usually if it's rainy or foggy or whatever, obviously you can see that better. It's got the ventilation in the armpits, and it's been great. I just recently re-waterproofed it and cleaned it, so it's ready to go for this trip. Also from Showers Pass, I've got these waterproof gloves. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how waterproof they are. My hands do get wet in them, so I don't know if they just didn't last very long or what. But they keep my hands warm, and they give me some grip on the handlebars, if it's rainy and cold. So, I can handle getting my hands wet, so it's no big deal. But I do plan, even though knowing all that, I still plan to take these on my next tour in Washington because, like I said, they do keep my hands warm, and that's really what matters. On the Trans Am, it was so hot in the summer, I did not take rain pants, but on the Pacific Coast Tour, I did take rain pants, and I'm glad I did because it was cold. But these are just by Pearl Izumi. They've got little tabs on the side so you can adjust the fit, and the bottoms got these zippers on them if you need to unzip them for any reason, and they kind of fit up around your ankles so they're not getting caught in anything. And these have also been great. Last thing in that pannier is my saddle cover. I actually bought this for my Brooks saddle, which is leather and you can't get it wet, but I do cover my saddle with this, in case it's raining or if there's dew and I just don't really want to get on a wet seat. So that's come in very handy. So let's load all this up in the back pannier and we will move on to the next one. In my other rear pannier, I keep my sleeping bag, my sleeping pad, my pillow.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, my big pillow. It's actually really lightweight. It only weighs a few ounces and you can squish it into your bag. And I've got some lightweight backpacking pillows that literally fit in the palm of my hand, but they're just not that comfortable, and sleep is really important to me on a bike tour. Now, let's continue.
My down jacket, things that I don't want to get wet. So I don't put those in with my tent. I keep them separate because, like I said, there's so many times that you have to put up a wet tent, you know, if it's been raining all night or if there's dew on the ground. So I just keep all this separate. I also keep my electronics in that because I know that where my down stuff is, that's gonna be dry. It's gonna have to be dry. So what goes in that bag is, like I said, I've got an Immuto external battery, and I can charge my phone and my light and my GPS off of this for about a week. This is the second one that I've had. I had to buy a new one because they don't really last that long. After this one dies, I'm looking at something different. I know a lot of people use the Anchor external batteries. So maybe comment below if you have a good external battery that can charge your, you know, your phone and your lights and stuff for about a week. That's usually kind of what I like. But it hasn't been bad. Like when it works, it's great. So hopefully this one will last for this next trip. I also keep my pump in that bag just because there's lots of extra room and space in there, and it's just the best place for it. You know, it's not ideal to use one of these little tiny pumps. However, they're more reliable than, you know, CO2 canisters and stuff like that. So this is just what I use. I take a Patagonia down sweater, I think is what it's called. You know, that's what I wear in the winter. So, you know, and it packs up easily. So I know if I get cold, that's gonna get the job done. So for my sleeping bag, I have a Feathered Friends Egret Nano 20. And it's a 20-degree bag, and I'm probably not gonna encounter 20-degree temperatures anywhere, but I'm cold-natured and this is just what works for me. The down bag, I have noticed it feels sticky, especially if you're in the east, like we are in Kentucky. It gets very humid in the summer. So if I'm somewhere where it's humid or not really very cold, I'll just drape it over me like a blanket. I just unzip it and just use it like a blanket. However, most of my bike tours I go on, the weather's questionable. So, you know, I've been on bike tours where I was somewhere where it was 100 degrees and a few weeks later, it was, you know, down in the 30s at night. So I think this is just a good all-around sleeping bag. It is a 3-season bag, so, you know, it's probably not great for winter camping, but I think it definitely would get the job done if need be. I think Feathered Friends is a great company. They make excellent gear. Everything on here and on the bag is just made great. So check them out if you are interested in a sleeping bag. For my sleeping pad, I use the Big Agnes Q-Core SLX, and it is an insulated sleeping pad, which makes a difference if it's cold out. It's so comfortable. I really look forward to crawling in my tent at night and sleeping on this thing. Super comfortable. To air up my sleeping pad, I've got one of these inflation bags. It looks huge, but it's really lightweight, and I highly recommend airing up your sleeping pad with one of these. I think the condensation from your breath gets in the bags and it causes mold and moisture problems like that. So if you use one of these bags, the way that it works is you just catch some air and then you roll it up and it squeezes it into the bag. I think it's great to avoid putting moisture inside the bag. So highly recommend one of those inflation bags. I like to keep my sleeping pad clean. So I just got a piece of stretchy fabric that I stretch out over it like a bed sheet. I didn't sew anything. I have it knotted up at the end, so it just kind of fits around the corners. It doesn't weigh very much, but I mean, everything adds up. But to me, this is worth it to keep this clean, and it just makes you feel cleaner at night. So I put this over my sleeping pad kind of as a sheet. So that's everything that goes in my sleeping bag pannier, things that I don't want to get wet. So let's load it up. So in one of my front panniers, I keep all of my cooking supplies and my food and my shower supplies and just toiletries and stuff like that. So for my cooking gear, I use a little pocket rocket stove. It's super tiny, as you can see, but you can cook with it. All you do is screw it onto the canister, and your pots go on top of it, and you're able to cook. I don't think there's a better option out there personally. I don't think you can find anything lighter or easier to work with than this. These fuel canisters you can find anywhere. A lot of people that I've seen on tour take big skillets and stuff like that to cook on, which is fine. Some people are foodies and some people like stuff like that. But all I take is, normally I just take one little pot and one spoon. I've got two on this trip because I'm carrying the cooking gear and my dad's coming with me, so that's why I have two things. But I've never found the need to have like multiple plates, those little silicone things that fold up. It's just extra weight, and everything I cook can just be cooked in a pot. So that's just what I take for my cooking setup. I do carry a lighter with me to light it, but I recently just got one of these fire starters. So I look forward to using that and seeing how it works. Now, as far as the food that I carry with me, I don't carry a lot of food with me unless I'm gonna be in a really remote area to where I can't get food. So I always carry a few packs of ramen on hand, just something that I can cook really easy. It's super lightweight. If I know that I'm gonna be camping in a spot that's not too far away, I'll stop at a grocery store and get food to cook. But as far as carrying stuff like that with me, I don't carry it. Like, usually it's just too much weight. But like I said, I check out my maps. That way I know what I need ahead of time. Of course, you need a good headlamp to mess around camp at night and to see in your tent. So the one that I've got is just by Petzl. It's worked pretty good so far. As far as my toiletry items, I get a shampoo and conditioner, the travel size. I've got a toothbrush and I've got toothpaste that's travel sized. I take a razor, travel size deodorant. I take a little travel size Tide packet just in case we get to do laundry. In a pinch, I have used my shampoo before. I don't know how great that is, but I figured it was better than nothing. So wet wipes are super important to take. Usually you're not showering every night, depending on where you are. So I just take a bath or a shower using wet wipes. So let's get all this stuff loaded up. So in my other front pannier, I keep all my clothing items. So this is the first time I've ever owned a pair of Crocs. I usually have a pair of flip-flops that I wear around camp, but for the Crocs, I'm just gonna go for it. So I usually take a couple of pairs of shorts. I've got a couple of shorts by Pearl Izumi that I really like. They're a good length for if it's really hot out. I've got a pair of Pearl Izumi leggings that they're kind of like the capri length, and I wore these almost every day on my Pacific Coast tour because I was cold, but it wasn't so cold that I wanted full length leggings. So those come in handy. And I do have a pair of leggings just in case it gets really cold, but usually I just wear these around camp at night. So for my shirts, I'm taking kind of several different types of shirts because I think the weather is gonna vary quite a bit. We're gonna start a bit inland. We're gonna end up on the coast. We're gonna be going through some mountain ranges. So I know the temperatures are gonna fluctuate. So I'm taking a tank top, and I've got kind of a long sleeve sun shirt. And I've got a little bit thicker long sleeve shirt just in case it's chilly. And I'm probably gonna take one of these cotton tank tops that I have on because all of this stuff is quick dry material, and sometimes it just feels better to wear cotton. So I like to change it up a little bit. So I'm taking a beanie. Normally I don't take this unless it's like really cold out, but I about froze on the Pacific Coast route. The weather wasn't that great for us, and I was trying to find a beanie and it was impossible to find in California. So taking a beanie this time, just in case. I've got my shower towel. It's really tiny, but it gets the job done. You know, it would be nicer to have a bigger towel, but it just weighs too much and it's not worth it to me. So there's that. And the last thing, I don't actually pack these, I wear them, but these are my shoes. They're made by Shimano, and they are almost a rubbery material, so the rain does not soak into them. I wouldn't say that they're waterproof, but they're pretty water resistant. These are actually SBD shoes, but they provided a sticker that goes over the cleat part that keeps water from seeping in and stuff like that. The thing that I love about these shoes is it's got a shoelace holder on it, so it keeps your shoelaces from getting caught in anything. And I think that's an absolute must for bike shoes that have shoelaces. So let's get this stuff loaded up. So lastly is my Ortlieb Ultimate 6 handlebar bag, and it's also the free line, the PVC free. And this is a great little handlebar bag. Obviously it's waterproof. It comes with a lock system where you can actually lock it onto your handlebar mount. It has a clear map case on the top so you can read your maps while you're riding. So inside my handlebar bag, I just keep things that I need easy access to. So I've got my spare tubes and tire levers, I've got a patch kit, I have a roll of electrical tape. Sometimes that just comes in handy. I think it's really good to have, you know, so you can use it in a pinch. I keep a master link with me. I have had a chain break before and we actually needed one of these. Hopefully you don't. I keep a whistle. Comes in handy to scare off dogs and, you know, things like that. And, you know, if you're in an emergency or something, super handy. This is a Fox 40 whistle. I'm a teacher, and this is what a lot of teachers use for recess because they're really loud. We carry a multi-tool with us. Make sure you have a multi-tool with a chain breaker on it. You know, like I said, I have had a chain break before. Super important to have. You know, I just keep some lotion, some sunscreen, a hairbrush. I keep my flare light that I mentioned earlier. This is the red light that usually you put on the rear. I keep that in my handlebar bag because I don't always use it, because I always have my LED Bontrager light going. But I use this in a pinch if I need it. And of course, I keep little snacks and stuff that I can eat while I'm riding.
With everything loaded up, the grand total weight of my bike plus all my gear adds up to about 70 pounds.
I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please remember that the gear that I chose is not the end-all be-all. There's more expensive gear out there, there's less expensive gear out there, there's lighter gear out there, and there's more updated gear out there. So the most important thing for you to remember is don't wait until it's the perfect time. Don't wait until you have all the right stuff. Just get out there and go. See you guys out there.